Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rahakwadash. Double honors to the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and salutations to the Akim who are tuning to these videos. In this video, I wanted to read a few precepts and going into the topic about Esau, Edom, and how the Heavenly Father has perpetual hatred for that group of people. And so I can start this off in the book of Malachi, because this is something that has been reiterated a lot in the scriptures. So when we go out there to the highways and hedges, we come in the volume of the book. And this message that needs to be delivered to Esau, Edom, has to be delivered by somebody. So as we're raised up to be prophets in the land of our captivity, where we're remembering ourselves, we are basically shining a light to Esau, Edom, and speaking about all of his wicked atrocities. There's an inquisition that's happening, and when we read these scriptures, you can see that when the disputers of this world try to come up against us, they really don't have anything to say. They should really just listen to this message. So I'm going to start this off in Malachi 1:1. It says, "The burden of the word of the Lord to Israel by Malachi. I have loved you, saith the Lord. Yet ye say, wherein hast thou loved us? Was not Esau Jacob's brother, saith the Lord? Yet I loved Jacob, and hated Esau, and laid his mountains and his heritage waste for the dragons of the wilderness." So right here, just to point out that the Heavenly Father does have that emotion of hatred. And you could just look at why the Heavenly Father hates the Edomites. In that particular groups of secular history, you can see how he treats the apple of the Most High's eye and his laws, statutes, and commandments. Right now, as he's the ruler or the steward of the world, he's running this place to the ground. He basically hates creation. So it's no mystery, to those of the elect, to those who have ears to hear, that the Heavenly Father hates this group of people because of what he's doing, and he's perpetually pushing out there onto the world. So I'm going to read from verse 3 again. It says, "And I hated Esau, and laid his mountains and his heritage waste for the dragons of the wilderness. Whereas whereas Edom saith, we are impoverished, but we will return and build the desolate places. Thus saith the Lord of hosts, they shall build, but I will throw down, and they shall call them the border of wickedness, and the people against whom the Lord hath indignation forever." And so I'm just going to highlight that right there, is that this indignation is forever, perpetual. And so right here in Ezekiel 35, it goes into that. Because when we're speaking these things, you can see that these Joe Sixpack Edomites, it stirs something up in them. It's that ancient hatred that stems back all the way back to what was happening in the book of Genesis with Jacob and Esau. When Esau sold his birthright, and then he was finessed out of his blessing, he wanted to slay his brother Jacob. And so that perpetual hatred never went anywhere. I mean, you just look at what this guy has been doing, all of the laws and legislations he's been pushing. It's going against not only the Israelites, but for righteousness. And everything he's pushing in this place, America, which is known as Babylon the Great, is contrary to the scriptures. So the Heavenly Father hates this group of people, and he's going to have perpetual war with them forever. Which I'm going to get into that verse, but I'll read this first in Ezekiel 35. And so to start off in verse 1, it says, "Moreover, the word of the Lord came unto me, saying." So this is a message that is given unto us. And so now we raise up as prophets and set our face against Mount Seir. So you can see that now that the Spirit is dealing with the nation of Israel again, with the hopeful elect, now we're reading these things, because none of us grew up reading about these stories. They didn't read any of these precepts. The majority of the world doesn't even know who Esau, Edom is. They if they think of the Bible, they think of the main characters, John, so-called Jesus, which his real name is Yahweh Shai, but they don't really go into the nitty-gritty parts of the scriptures, which it has basically the judgment of Esau Edom, because he's going to be the last one ruling these days. When all this is said and done, he's going to be the main one pushing out that wickedness. So I'm going to read this in Ezekiel 35:1 again. Moreover, the word of the Lord came unto me, saying. So as we're setting our face against Mount Seir, we're prophesying against it. And it's not us particularly, we're just the messengers. Verse 2, Son of man, set thy face against Mount Seir, and prophesy against it, and say unto it, Thus saith the Lord Yahweh of hosts, Behold, O Mount Seir, I am against thee, and I will stretch out mine hand against thee, and I will make thee most desolate. And so this is a promise that the Heavenly Father is speaking unto Esau Edom. You can read this in Isaiah 34, or just various precepts going into that final judgment that this place is going to receive. So continuing on, verse 4, it says, I will lay thy cities waste, and thou shalt be desolate, and thou shalt know that I am the Lord. Because as I just started this in Malachi 1, Esau Edom, he's in these desolate places, but he's going to build. He's going to make these things, gather all these resources, and covet them. And so as he's doing these things, the Heavenly Father, he's already got the skinny. He knows what he's doing and how he's doing it, because ultimately he was given that mission by the Heavenly Father himself. So as this is happening, he's going to build these cities and military bases in various countries. He's setting up that final. He's setting up to get ready for that final battle that's going to happen in the Valley of Yehoshaphat, where the Heavenly Father, his indignation is to gather all of these nations so that he could judge them all in one fell swoop. So I'm going to continue on. Verse 4, it says, I will lay thy cities waste, and thou shalt be desolate, and thou shalt know that I am the Lord. Because in that day, it ain't going to be no mistakes what is happening and who was sent out here. The prophets are going to say, we told you so. And we're going to witness the deliverance in the land of the north. Amongst all this chaos, the Heavenly Father, he has it out against the Edomites, but he's also looking after his elect, who are sending this message right here that I'm reading to you. So I'm going to continue on in verse 5. This is the point I wanted to get at in this chapter. It says, because thou hast had perpetual hatred, and hast shed the blood of the children of Israel by the force of the sword in the time of their calamity, in the time that their iniquity had an end. So Esau Edom also has his perpetual hatred, because we as the nation of Israel are technically supposed to be the representatives of the Heavenly Father down here. We uphold righteousness. So that's the imbalance there. Where Esau Edom is profane and corrupt, we are meant to be clean and righteous. And so Esau Edom basically has that perpetual hatred, that ancient hatred that goes back all the way back to Jacob and Esau. All right, and then also that in a time where our calamity was at an end, Esau Edom pushed and forward the affliction of the nation of Israel, because we were basically sent here for our punishment, but Esau Edom is basically the worst person for that to happen. He pushed over our people over the edge and shed the blood of the innocent. So I'm going to read this verse in Numbers 35 and 33. It says, so ye shall not pollute the land wherein ye are, for blood it defiled the land, and the land cannot be cleansed of the blood that is shed therein, but by the blood of him that shed it. So when you look at the history of what Esau Edom was doing when he came here in the Americas, he was slaughtering the innocents. And then also when he was establishing his empire, and he had brought the southern kingdom over here and put them on the plantations to work for free, he was forwarding that affliction and slaughtering the innocent blood also. So the only way that Esau Edom can be taken out of that is basically just to be taken out of the picture ultimately. And so he's going to be shed, he's going to have bloodshed in the land where he was shedding the blood of the nation of Israel. because ultimately you see this land, America, it's corrupt because of this action right here. And so I'm going to go back to Ezekiel 35, and I'll continue on in verse 6. It says, "Therefore, as I live, saith the Lord Yahweh power, I will prepare thee unto blood, and blood shall pursue thee. Since thou hast not hated blood, even blood shall pursue thee. Thus will I make Mount Seir most desolate, and cut off from it him that passeth out, and him that returneth. And I will fill his mountains with his slain men in thy hills and in thy valley, and in all thy rivers shall they fall that are slain with the sword. I will make thee perpetual desolations, and thy cities shall not return, and ye shall know that I am the Lord, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai." Because in that day, ain't going to be no questions or rebuttals coming up against us. It's going to be business time when Yahweh Shai returns. Actually, let me get this real quick precept in Isaiah. This is Isaiah 63. And this right here, this is a prophecy of when Yahweh Shai comes here and judges this place. And just to specify the people that he's gunning after. This is Isaiah 63 verse 1. "Who is this that cometh from Edom with dyed garments from Bozrah? This that is glorious in his apparel, traveling in the greatness of his strength. I that speak in righteousness, mighty to save. Wherefore art thou red in thine apparel, and thy garments like him that treadeth in the wine fat?" So this is a question being said of who is this person in the nation of Esau. And he's trampling these people, and bloodshed is going all over the place, as if this person was stepping on the grapes to make the wine press. So like if you ever see a person pressing on grapes to make wine, they get really stained, like very red. And so that's basically how much bloodshed Yahweh Shai is going to do when he gets to this place. So I'm continuing on verse 3. "I have trodden the winepress alone, and of the people there was none with me. For I will tread them in mine anger, and trample them in my fury, and their blood shall be sprinkled upon my garments, and I will slay all my raiment." Because that's his determination, to gather all these nations so that he could just destroy them with one fell swoop. But Esau, Edom, it's all basically going to be Yahweh Shai that he's going to meet with. And it's not going to be a fringe Israelite group or a terrorist organization. No, it's just going to be one spiritual entity known as Yahweh Shai. And he's going to be the one fighting for the nation of Israel. So none of us here are going to have that glory that Yahweh Shai is going to have to destroy Esau, Edom perpetually. So I'm going to continue on in verse 4. It says, "For the day of vengeance is in mine heart, and the year of my redeem is come." So you have to picture this. Yahweh Shai has only been in the heavens for like 2.5 days, meditating about what took place when he was on the scene. He was crucified because of the Romans, because of the 2/3. And he's going to return and deliver us in this land, because he could see that we're preaching and prophesying against Mount Seir. So he's going to deliver his elect, who he's going to find doing so what he was told to do, and what they were sent out here to do, the watchmen preaching and prophesying against Mount Seir. And so that's that vengeance that Yahweh Shai has, because all these scriptures are applying to a legal issue about how I just read in Numbers 35, because this land is defiled with blood. And the only way to fix that is to shed the blood of him that shed it, meaning Esau, Edom, back in his glory days when he was just able to do these things unchecked. And so I'm going to read this here in Numbers 24 and starting off at 18. And just to point out that this is something that has been written, and we're declaring the end from the beginning. All these things in the scriptures, as it's coming in the volume of the book, should start looking like a beautiful picture once you put all the puzzle pieces together, that Esau, Edom is ultimately going to go down. So I'm going to read this in Numbers 24, starting off at verse 18. And Edom shall be a possession. Seir also shall be a possession for his enemies, and Israel shall do valiantly. Because Esau, Edom, at the end of the day, is going to be led to hardcore chattel slavery for the iniquities of his father, for all of the things that he was doing. He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. Here is the patience and the faith of the saints. And that's what we're hoping for. Justice, basically. So I'm going to continue on. Verse 19. Out of Jacob shall come he that shall have dominion, and shall destroy him that remaineth in the city. And this is speaking about Yahushai. In Isaiah 63, who is this that cometh from Edom with dyed garments from Bozrah? Because it's Yahushai that's going to tread the winepress and destroy him that remaineth in the city. This city ain't going to remain. It's going to be most desolate. Whatever Esau Edom builds, whatever brick he has placed, whatever cigarette butts and plastic that he litter on this earth, that's going to be fixed. Because when we have him in chattel slavery, that's going to be one of his first jobs to do, is to basically undo all the wickedness that he's done. And any remnant of Esau Edom is going to be thrown down. So, continuing on in verse 20, and when he looked on Amalek, he took up his parable and said, Amalek was the first of the nations, but his latter end shall be that he perish forever, because this is going to happen to Amalek. This perpetual war that he has with the nation of Esau Edom. This is something that has been said and will be said until it is done. So I'm going to read this last precept right here. This is in 2 Ezra 6 and 9. For Esau is the end of the world, but Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. So these are prophetic words. The message that we are given to tell Esau Edom as we set our face against Mount Seir. So with that, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, Bahashem Rachakodash, Shalom Akim.